What's up guys, it's Chris Majestic, and a few months ago I had the opportunity to review the highly praised Valerion VisionMaster Pro 2. Well, today we're checking out Valerion's flagship, which is the VisionMaster Max. So is it worth the jump from the Pro 2 to the Max? Well, today we're gonna find out. So earlier this year at CES, I had the opportunity to check out some projectors from Valerion, who broke the record for the highest funded projector in crowdfunding history. And if you haven't seen my review of the VisionMaster Pro 2, I highly suggest checking that video out. But the Pro 2 is a fantastic projector for the money, outperforming projectors that cost double the price. So considering what I saw on the Pro 2, I've been eager to see how the Max performs considering it's the flagship model. And before I get started, I want to mention that this video is not sponsored. Valerion is not paying me, nor do they have any say over what I put in this video, even though they did send out the projector for me to check out. I should also mention that this is a pre-production model, so some things may change when it's officially released. So when it comes to unboxing the Valerion VisionMaster Max, the first thing I was greeted with was a high quality 40-foot HDMI cable. Now I'm not sure if they'll be including this cable with every purchase, but the cable looks to be good quality. And of course we have the projector, which comes in a really nice leather case. So if you saw my review of the Pro 2, you'll notice that the VisionMaster Max shares the same cube design, with the main difference being the color. Unlike the glossy gray finish on the Pro 2, the Max has a piano black finish on the front and rear with the same chrome accents around the sides of the unit. Its form factor puts it in the lifestyle projector category, even though it might be the heaviest lifestyle projector I've ever reviewed on the channel. And even though the front of the projector looks similar to the other models, the Max actually has the ability to swap lenses, which is unheard of for a projector at this price point. And Valerion promises additional lenses in the future, including some anamorphic lenses, which will be nice. But either way, just like the Pro 2, the Max comes with a motorized lens, and it has a few sensors for autofocus and keystone correction on the front of the unit. On the top, you'll find a far-field microphone for the Google Assistant, a switch to turn the microphones on or off, as well as LED indicators. The sides of the unit are used for ventilation. The bottom has a 1/4-inch mounting hole, 2 adjustable feet, and a folding front foot, which can be used to adjust the angle on a table. And of course, all of the ports are on the back. It has a DC power jack, optical audio out, 2 USB ports, 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, an HDMI 2.0 port with eARC, a headphone jack, Ethernet port, and a power button. Okay, so what do the specs look like on the VisionMaster Max? Well, it's packed with pretty much everything you could ask for. It produces 3500 ISO lumens while still maintaining the 110% correct 20/20 coverage and a 5000:1 contrast ratio. It still supports all of the latest HDR formats. It has low input lag for gaming, autofocus, auto keystone correction, a motorized optical zoom, and 3D support. And the Max has quite a few benefits over the other models. The main thing that sets the Max apart is that it produces 3500 ISO lumens, it has 105% vertical lens shift, a 6-level adjustable iris, anti-RBE, as well as speckle reduction, which I'll talk about later. It also has the ability to adapt different lenses, and the Max also has a gigabit Ethernet port. So each model gives you a few benefits over the other, with the Max giving you everything you could ask for. So when it comes to setup, the VisionMaster Max can either be set up on a table or a stand, or it can be mounted to the ceiling using a ceiling mount. It can produce a 100-inch screen from around 78 inches away, and can produce an image up to 300 inches. And one of the main benefits of the Max over the other models is that it has a vertical lens shift. To some people this may not seem like a big deal, but the addition of the lens shift actually allows me to mount this projector in my home theater, where the Pro 2 couldn't work since I have to mount it lower than the top of my screen to clear a bulkhead. But aside from that, when it comes to setting this projector up, it can't get any easier. Not only does it have auto keystone correction, so you don't have to worry about getting it lined up perfectly, but it also has autofocus, which makes life a whole lot easier. And on top of that, it also has an electronic zoom. These features don't just add convenience, but they also make it incredibly easy to set up in just a few seconds. And when it comes to the interface and operating system, all of the VisionMaster projectors run on the Google TV OS, which is become my favorite smart projector OS. You get access to all of the popular streaming apps, you get hands-free access to the Google Assistant, and the interface is easy to navigate. And the VisionMaster projectors also have Wi-Fi 6E, so if you have a modern wireless router, you can take full advantage of the fastest wireless speeds the projector provides. I was able to stream high bitrate 4K movies right over Wi-Fi with no issues, which definitely can't be said for all projectors. And the included voice remote works great. Most of the buttons are backlit, so it's easy to use in the dark. It has a dedicated button for the Google Assistant, dedicated buttons to jump to multiple settings, and it has shortcut buttons to a few streaming apps. And since it uses a Bluetooth connection, you don't even need to point it directly at the projector. So on paper, the VisionMaster Max has a few benefits over the Pro 2, but how do they translate into overall performance? Well, I can honestly say that this thing did not disappoint. I spent a few weeks testing the Max with all sorts of content, and it might just be my new favorite DLP projector. Of course, one of the first things I did when I got this projector set up was measure the brightness, and with the laser set to level 10 and the brightness enhancer set to high, I measured over 3600 ANSI lumens, which is pretty much right on par with Valerion's 3500 lumen claim. Now, of course, the brightness enhancer setting adds a noticeable green tint to the image, so I also measured it with that setting off, and I still got over 3200 ANSI lumens, which is still really bright. And with the projector in theater mode, which is calibrated for movies, I got just under 2700 ANSI lumens. The auto-focusing system did a fantastic job of focusing the image, and it was razor sharp with great focus uniformity. And I think the VisionMaster Max is actually the sharpest projector I've ever reviewed on the channel. Right out of the box in standard mode, it produced a bright and vivid image with great color accuracy and contrast with SDR content. And just like the VisionMaster Pro 2, the Max has 7 SDR picture modes. For basic TV watching, I found myself using standard mode as it provided a good balance of brightness, color accuracy, and contrast, and theater mode worked great for watching cinematic movies since it produces a warmer, more accurate image. And overall, I was really impressed with the out-of-box image as I didn't have to make any major tweaks to get a decent color balance. Now, with that being said, there are lots of settings that can be used to calibrate the projector if you want the absolute best image. So the VisionMaster projectors have dedicated HDR picture modes, which is ideal. This means you get separate picture modes for SDR, HDR10, and Dolby Vision. For the most part, I preferred HDR theater mode with HDR10 content, and I preferred Dolby Vision Bright with Dolby Vision content. And boy, does HDR look amazing on this projector. The color reproduction was fantastic, and it has great contrast. Highlights looked good just like they did on the Pro 2, and the shadow detail was pretty much perfect. As I mentioned earlier, the Max has an adjustable iris, and the iris has 4 different modes. And the Cinema 2 iris setting mixed with the enhanced black level or EBL setting produced some of the darkest blacks I've seen from a DLP projector. The image was noticeably dimmer overall, but definitely more than bright enough for my 135-inch screen. And depending on what content I was watching, I found myself bouncing between low or high for the EBL setting, as I did find it to be a bit distracting with certain scenes. I also prefer the dark detail setting to be set to on, as it brought out a bit more shadow detail without raising the black floor. This made for an absolutely stunning experience watching dark movies, and the mixture of contrast and black levels from this projector were absolutely incredible. On paper, the Max has the same native contrast as the Pro 2, but overall the Max has noticeably better black levels. The iris setting allows the projector to adjust the light output, which produces better black levels and more contrast. This explains why the Max is advertised as having a 50,000 to 1 viewing contrast, which is a big jump compared to the other VisionMaster projectors. And it is important to note that the iris is adjustable, but it doesn't adjust automatically, which is why it's not called a dynamic iris. And when measuring the contrast from the Max with it in standard mode, with the iris and EBL settings set to off and the laser set to full brightness, I measured a native contrast just over 5600 to 1, which is slightly higher than Valerion's 5000 lumen claim. And when measuring the dynamic contrast, I got 28,000 to 1 in standard mode with the iris set to 6, laser at 10, and EBL set to high. These are fantastic numbers, and they definitely align with what my eyes were seeing. And if you're interested in seeing this video in higher quality, I've started uploading some of my projector reviews to Vimeo for those of you who want to see the higher quality videos, which is much better at showing black levels. So be sure to check the video description as well as chrismajestic.com for that version of the video. well. And when it comes to color accuracy, the Max does a fantastic job there as well. Right out of the box in filmmaker mode, it hits around 94% of Rec 2020 and nearly 100% of DCI-P3, with P3 coverage beyond 100%, confirming Valerion's claim of 110% coverage. So the image quality is amazing, but what about visual artifacts like rainbow effect or laser speckle? Well, even though I could force myself to see rainbows with certain content like bright objects on a dark background, I never found it to be distracting. But what's really cool is that Valerion added an anti-RBE setting to the VisionMaster Max for people who are especially sensitive to rainbows. Turning on this setting pretty much removes rainbow effect to the point where I can't see it even if I try. Now the downside is that when this setting is enabled, the projector does emit a high-pitched buzzing sound and it causes a slight color shift. The color shift issue can easily be fixed by adjusting the color balance, and even though the buzzing sound was noticeable, I didn't think the rainbow effect was bad enough to warrant the use of this setting. Alright, so what about laser speckle? Well, Valerion claims that the Max has laser speckle reduction, which claims to significantly reduce it. Laser speckle is pretty hard to capture on camera, let alone measure, so it's possible that it has less speckle than I saw on the Pro 2, but I did notice a little bit of speckle on my 1.3 gain ALR screen, even though I didn't notice it at all on my 1.0 gain screen. Alright, so what about 3D for my 3D guys out there? Well, the 3D performance from the Max was very similar to the Pro 2. I was wondering if I'd notice a difference with the extra 500 lumens, and it may have been slightly brighter, but it was hard to tell. And of course, no projector review is complete without gaming, and just like it was on the Pro 2, I had a great gaming experience considering the image quality and low input lag. After enabling DLP turbo mode, I got 17.6 milliseconds with 4K at 60, just under 12 milliseconds at 120 Hz, and I got an impressive 4.6 milliseconds at 240 Hz. The projector has a pair of 12-watt speakers built in which support Dolby Audio, and even though they do sound pretty good, no projector speakers are gonna sound better than an external sound system. It has eARC, so you can send lossless Dolby Atmos to your home theater receiver or soundbar. It also has an optical audio output, an analog audio output, and Bluetooth 5.2, so you can even use a Bluetooth speaker or headphones. It even has WiSA support, so you can pair it up with WiSA enabled speakers if you have them. And this brings us to fan noise, and the VisionMaster Max is a pretty quiet projector. Even with the laser level set to 10, I measured around 35 decibels, which is great considering how bright it is. Alright, so now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the video where I talk about the things I don't like. Well, first I'll start with the same issue I had with the VisionMaster Pro 2, and that's the lack of mounting holes on the bottom of the unit. Considering the projector weighs nearly 17 pounds, I don't really feel comfortable hanging such an expensive and fragile piece of equipment from a single screw. Now, I will admit that this is less of an issue with the VisionMaster Max since it has a vertical lens shift. This allows you to mount the projector right side up and sit it up on a shelf, but either way, a few more mounting holes would be nice. Another issue I had was that I wasn't able to send True HD Dolby Atmos audio from the projector to my home theater receiver using eARC. Now, I was able to send lossy Dolby Digital Plus Atmos, but not True HD. Now, I'm not sure if this is specific to my unit considering it's a pre-production model, but I did bring it to Valerion's attention, so hopefully it won't be an issue on the released version. My other concern is super nitpicky, and that's related to the lack of backlit buttons on the remote. Only half of the buttons are backlit, so I constantly found myself holding the projector remote up in the air to use light from the projector to see which buttons were which. Thankfully, after a few days, I memorized the buttons, but considering the price of these projectors, I figured it was worth a mention. And this brings us to the price. The VisionMaster Max has a retail price of $5,000, but if you put in for a pre-order, you can get a $1,000 discount, which brings the price down to $4,000. Now, I'll tell you that at $4,000, the VisionMaster Max is a steal. Even when compared to high-end SXRD projectors, it's a really strong contender. The fact that it can produce up to 3,500 lumens with great color reproduction, a native 5,000:1 contrast ratio, and still has the ability to produce the best black levels I've seen from a DLP projector, this thing is nothing short of amazing. This puts the Valerion projectors in a pretty unique spot. They're brighter than most high-end projectors while still rivaling their black levels. This means they can be used in a room with ambient light, but still benefit from being in a light-controlled room. They also have better input lag than some some high-end projectors. They have more flexibility when it comes to placement, and they're portable and easier to set up. I honestly can't think of any projectors that check this many boxes. When I saw people raving about the Valerion projectors last year, I really thought it was all hype, but after testing them out for myself, they've made me a believer, and I think I've just found my new favorite projector that I'll be hanging up in my home theater. Alright guys, that's gonna pretty much do it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, as always, go ahead and make sure you mash that like button for me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on any new videos. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next video.